Sarah.
Future-Proof is sponsored by Equipping Young Adults for Life, inspiring student resilience, championing hope.
And I'm here for this evening's interesting talks. This evening, my subject is going to be using emotional intelligence to increase your influence. I will not be standing before the audience as an expert. I will be more reflecting my journey through understanding and developing my knowledge of emotional intelligence and how it has helped me increase my influence, and I will go through models which will empower the audience to go away with hopefully new learning, or if nothing else, just confirmation that what they're doing is right. And at the end of the day, they will hopefully be able to increase their circle of influence through that new learning. When we start something new, there are very, very often barriers that will get in the way. The barriers can be emotional barriers of anger, rejection, fear, and guilt. And when I work within businesses, and certainly on one-to-ones as well, we really, really do unpack those self-sabotaging emotions. When I understood them, I started to gain a much greater interest and understanding in who I was as a human being. And also it gave me confidence to stand against things that were interfering, if you like, with my health and my well-being. So fear. False expectations appearing real. That's the acronym. How many of you have woken up from a dream and it is so real? You have to sit there or lie there for a good, what seems like 5 or 10 minutes. And then you realise it's not true. It hasn't happened. And that's the key thing with fear. It hasn't happened yet. But the way that it's manifested in your mind, you are experiencing it and feeling it and tasting it as if it has happened. When we are quite defensive, this can often be how we present. We can respond inappropriately to a situation through fear, because what has come our way has landed not how it was intended by the person sending it our way. We've put our own stuff, our own interpretation on it, we've acted in fear, and we've responded inappropriately. We're often fearful of success or failure. So often people think fear is only around failure. It's not. People can often be fearful around success. I'll often give the example of a secretarial pool. And if a secretary is really, 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 really good, then the biggest fear there is if I'm so good at my job, then the bosses, the partners, the directors are going to dump on me. So that's an example of it. Next one, rejection. That was my big one. Rejection is when we seek approval from other people to have permission to be who we are today. You do not, under any circumstances, need to seek approval from anyone to have permission to be who you are today. Your job is just to be the best you that you can be. But that does come with responsibility in my book. That means you have to be bold enough and brave enough to put your hand up and say, do you know, I'm really, really sorry I got that wrong. And then finish it and say, what can I do to put it right? Or to be bold and brave enough to say, do you know what? I know most of you don't agree with me, but I stand by every word I say. Because you don't need that approval from other people. Anger. Short-term anger is fine. Long-term anger, medics will tell you that it turns into resentment, and that can create health issues. And the last one is guilt. Guilt, either stop doing what is making you feel guilty or stop feeling guilty. For years I beat myself up because I stole an apple and I ate it and I thought nothing was wrong with it. I've been known to speak about this before. And then the teacher in the class said, somebody's stolen an apple, I am determined to find out who it was. All the students stand up and line up in a row. I'm going to walk along and smell your breath. When has that happened to you? When you've done something wrong and your inner core knows that it wasn't quite right. But, you know, it was easy, or I kind of got away with it. And we can have those feelings of a bit of bravado maybe, false confidence. We see it in courts of law. I don't know, how many of you have done jury service? Yeah. You know, out there people can appear quite brave, and yet in the dock they can break because you can't get away from facing what you've done. So for me, I put in consequences around the stealing the apple scenario, and just to let you know, I wasn't caught. I kind of got away with it. She did walk past me. But you know, that was at school, well into my 30s. If I was ever having a bad time, the gremlins, they'd be there 3 o'clock in the morning. Ooh, and don't forget, you're the and on top of everything else. It's amazing how it kicks in, isn't it? And you stole an apple. So I put consequences in, and I'd like to invite you to put consequences in. Because if you put consequences in, it will really help you make better decisions. For me, my consequence was, when I do something wrong, I will make sure I say sorry, even if it's a secret. And by the way, most secrets shouldn't be. If something has to be a secret, it usually shouldn't be. There are obviously things that can break that rule, but that is usually the case. So by putting in consequences, to begin with, I had a long sheet of all the people I'd pissed off over the years. So I phoned them, the ones I could, contacted them. If you go away and do that, I can tell you now it's a very hard conversation. You may not have spoken to them for 5 years. You know, hi Jeff, this may be a bit odd, but I'm phoning to say sorry. I thought I had to clear the decks, so I did. And I invite you to do the same if you don't already do it. Because when you put in consequences, my gosh, does it make you think smarter about the things that you are planning to say and do. So the next thing from, it's not about me. That was the big thing. I've already said that, haven't I? Yes, it's not about me. The next thing is be slow to take offence. Be slow to take offence because you never know what's happening in somebody's life. The day my brother died, I had to go to the school to pick the children up, and I reversed the car into a parking space, and another parent was walking behind the back of the car. And my foot slipped off the clutch and the car jerked, but I stopped and it seemed fine. And I saw her in the mirror and I just went, I'm sorry. She was very, very, very angry with me. Made her jump. Okay, fair enough. Came round to the window. I wound the window down. I just said, I'm sorry. And she just hammered at me verbally through that window. Hammered. And hammered again. And in my mind I thought, do I tell her my brother's just died? And I looked at her and I just said, I'm really, really sorry. We don't know what's going on in other people's lives. And 9 times out of 10, they might be having and dealing with things that are worse than you. That was all part of my learning through that pain, if you like, and dealing with that situation, that I had to be slow to take offence. We are not defined by what people say about us. That doesn't define who you are. And other people's opinions of you are none of your business. I quite like that one. Other people's opinions of you are none of your business. It stops you running. The number of times people are running around trying to please other people. So what I'd like you to do on what I've just said is we'll divide the room into quarters. 1, 2, 3 and 4. And I don't mind how you do it, kind of turn round or whatever, just talk with the person next to you. It's entirely up to you. I'd like you to unpack those self-sabotaging emotions of fear, rejection, anger and guilt, or anger, fear, rejection, guilt, however you want to say it. What does it mean to you? Fear. There you are, they're up there.
Anger.
Oh, sorry, thank you. Thank you.